So I know I didn't say anything about this video, but I really wasn't expecting to be making it so soon. I have 100 subscribers, like possibly minutes before this video being posted. That is, if I'm lucky enough to see it happen. But honestly, I'm shocked. When I first started this channel back in February, I had never made a YouTube video. I had no idea how to even start. And now, I have 100 subscribers. I just wanted to say thank you guys, seriously. Like, I'm so happy that you've given me your time and feedback and support. I know we can continue to grow as a community, and without you guys, I'd just be another person making art that no one sees. So seriously, thank you for subscribing to my channel. Of course I knew I wanted to do something to celebrate if I ever got to 100 subs, but I just didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I considered a few options, some may even make it as future videos, but to celebrate this particular occasion, I thought I'd revisit the challenge that started it all, the Change One Letter Challenge. No worries, I'm not making them all fairy type this time. If you don't know what the Change One Letter Challenge is, or you haven't seen my first video, I will take an existing Pokemon and change one letter of its name, then redesign, type, and stat it out. I figured since I've learned so much about drawing Pokemon and making videos, it would be a great contrast. So, without further ado, here is my 100 subscriber celebration, the Change One Letter Challenge. So the first Pokemon I chose to do for the Change One Letter Challenge today was actually in consideration for the very first video, but because I wanted to do Fairy, I ended up tabling it. I can't deny that Houndour and Houndoom are some of my favorite OG puppers, and since I'm kinda partial to dark types, I was destined to have an affection for them. So here it is. Houndpour, the Rainy Pup Pokemon. So the inspiration for Houndpour is pretty straightforward. I changed the D to a P and made Houndpour dark water type instead. I really like blue and yellow color combos for water types, and by adding gray clouds and keeping the same aggressive expression, it helps keep the dark typing. I made the eye a brighter shade of blue too because I thought it tied the look together. No more bone accents, instead Houndpour has clouds wrapping around the wrists and down the back. I kept the skull shape from Houndoom's design, but made it out of clouds, kinda like how clouds get skull shapes in them during big storms in movies. The shiny, I made the body a dark gray like classic Houndour with blue accents. I really like using blue for shiny electric type Pokemon, and since Houndpour is water type, I felt like it helps tie that back in too. For the abilities, I decided to go with Static and Levitate, and for the hidden ability, I went with Surge Surfer. For stats, I went with a solid spread with special defense being the lowest stat and obviously speed the highest. I like the idea of Houndour getting a water type variant, and I think this design does a great job of showing how cool it could be. Houndpour feels like a combination of classic Pokemon and newer design elements. When Houndpour play, it can cause rainstorms to happen. They play rough with each other and anyone else they can find. Now when it came to Houndoom, I will be honest, I changed things up, but you'll see what I mean. This is Hounboom, the thundering Pokemon. So I decided to keep the theme of rain clouds. I had to make the D a B, because thunder booms across the sky in rainstorms, and also because, what's a D if not a backwards B? I guess that means that a P is just an upside down one then. I digress. I also went with the electric type as the secondary typing now instead of water, because rainstorms are often accompanied by lightning. So for the color palettes of both the shiny and the regular, I went with the same I used for Houndpour. Houndoom's horn ears are lightning bolts now, and the pose makes it look like Hounboom is leaping across the sky. Instead of a devil-style tail, I decided to go with a semi-Raichu vibe, and I made the tail, underbelly, and muzzle yellow. For the abilities, I kept it the same, which is why Houndpour had the ability Static and Surge Surfer. For the stats, Hounboom has a high special attack and speed, with the same fair spread across the other stats. Hounboom are the guard dogs of the sky. Able to leap up into clouds, the static from their bodies can trigger thunderstorms. When Hounboom bark, it pours. So that's my take on changing one letter for Houndour and Houndoom that would easily make it a Stormpuppers instead of Brimstone. Though, I guess they would always smell like wet dog. That would be awful if you had them in the same numbers we saw in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Anyway, moving on. The next Pokemon I did today is by popular demand. Well, technically it was requested by Universe of Many, but if the Universe of Many isn't popular demand, I don't know what is. When I made my first video for this channel, I came up with the idea of making Mantike and Mantine, Pantike and Pantine, and I didn't really know how to make Remoraid work with that concept. So I chose a different method of evolution and chose to not redesign Remoraid. Well, Universe of Many, your wish is granted. This is Lemay, the lemonade Pokemon. So yeah, I changed the R to an L and now it's a fairy water type. When I was looking at Remoraid back in February, I realized its name worked as Lemonade, but the body structure would actually work to make Remoraid a lemon. So that's exactly what I did. The fins are made of lemonade, and the eye looks like a lemon seed, and the white is kinda like the inner rind. I'm not gonna lie, I am surprised at how well this design actually came together. For the shiny, well, how could I not go with pink lemonade? And how do you make pink lemonade? Pink lemons. Well, actually, it's usually strawberries and lemonade, but there are pink lemons in the world, so it's fine. When I was a kid, my grandma would get the big tin of Country Time pink lemonade whenever the grandkids would come over for the weekend. And well, she was also the one who made me pancakes every time I was there, so in a way I still tied it back in with Pantine after all. For the abilities, I once again went for my original ability, Sugar Rush, which I talked about in both my Spring Has Sprung video and Gen 1 Fairy Type Swap Challenge, so I won't go into it here. And also, contrary for the hidden ability, I went with Natural Cure because if you've ever been playing or working outside on a hot summer's day, a cold glass of lemonade can be what cures you. For the stats, I just moved them around a bit so that it's defensive and special attack oriented with a decent speed. Lemonade are as fresh as a cool stream in spring. It's unknown how the lemonade fins work in water, but yet Lemonade seems unaffected. Some say the juice of their fins can rejuvenate trainers and Pokemon alike. So that's Lemonade. And before you get to wondering how I'm going to tie it in with Octillery, I didn't. Maybe one day I'll think of something, but for now, Lemonade is just Lemonade. The final Pokemon on this list is the only one I had to actively research for this video. As I said, the first two were considered in my first Change One Letter Challenge video, but for one reason or another, they didn't make the cut. But Boomie, Sligboo, and Bdra weren't anywhere on my radar at that time. When I decided to do the Change One Letter Challenge again for my 100 subs special, I knew I had to find at least one more Evo line that I could change one letter and redesign. I went through most of the long list of Pokemon, but I kept coming back to Boomie, so I'm sure you're ready to see what I did, so here it is. This is Boomie, the spooky Pokemon. So yeah, I made the G a B, and now it's Ghost type. I wouldn't know if I'd call the previous two entries in this video convergent or regional variants or what, but for sure, Boomie is a convergent evolution. It just looks a lot like Boomie, but it's a ghost, not a slug. For the colors, I decided to take inspiration from Boomie and Mimikyu, since Boomie shares that vibe. The shiny, I just sort of went with my muse. No real rhyme or reason other than I felt like it looked cool. For the abilities, I went with Infiltrator and Moxie with the hidden ability Wandering Spirit. These were thematic to the design and worked functionally with my stats/type choices. Speaking of stats, Boomie have a high defense stat because, well, it's a ghost in a sheet, so it's probably going to be hard to damage, and a decent special attack and attack. Boomie can be found in abandoned buildings and graveyards. No one really knows where they came from or how many there are in the world, but for the most part they are harmless, playing the occasional prank on unsuspecting trespassers. I wouldn't have thought of making a ghost-type Pokemon based on Boomie before I made this video, but I'm happy I did. Boomie has a goofy charm about it. But let's not stop there and keep going by evolving Boomie. This is Sligboo. So it's not my favorite name for sure, but it's the Change One Letter Challenge, and I'm kinda going with a Boo theme, so that's what I got. I kept the ghost type going, of course, and when it came to the colors, I kept the same ones I used for Boomie, of course, too. When I was designing Sligboo, I wanted to make enough changes that it wasn't just Sligboo, so I made the bottom of the body look like a ghostly shape and made it more obvious that Sligboo is wearing a patched up sheet. The sheet ghost isn't only the cheapest last-minute kid costume from movies and TV shows, but ghosts showing up in sheets is deeply rooted in pop culture. So I thought that it made a great concept to expand into for Sligboo's design. Sligboo have larger, droopier antenna thingies than Sliggoo, and it's probably more of a byproduct of the sheet's patchy shape than the shape of Sligboo itself. I added stitches too that make it look solidly ghost type. For the abilities, I kept the same ones as Boomie since there's no real reason to change them. The stats for Sligboo follow more or less the same trend as Boomie, but more HP. Sligboo are very playful and come up with new games to play all the time. Not everyone who participates in these games are exactly willing to play, but sometimes they actually find they think it's fun too. Though these people report having lost track of time, sometimes even days, while playing with Sligboo. Alright, now let's see the final Evo and Pokemon I did for this video. This is Bdra. So yeah, a ghost that looks kinda like a Bdra. I kept the sheet inspiration, giving Bdra an old tattered up sheet that covers most of its body. For the eyes, I really wanted to bring the sheet costume theme together, so I made them these glowing yellow, peeking out from a hole cut in the sheet. I think I made the most subtle changes to Bdra's design out of the three. The face is a bit longer and the antenna thingies are bigger and droopier. Also, no legs, Bdra float around. Again, I stayed true to the color palette for both the regular and shiny because it works well and goes with Bdra's colors. Of course, the abilities are still the same and the stats are high HP, attack, and defense. Bdra get lonely if they don't have someone to entertain them, so they will often lure trainers, so they will have someone to play with. Anyone who gets caught up playing with Bdra may not be found for months, some even say years. Oddly enough, they seem like they are perfectly fine and haven't aged at all since the day they went missing. It's unsure why or how this works. I think all of the designs in this video came out amazing, and when I look back at my first video, I can really see the improvement in my art and editing already. And that's it, my 100 subscriber Change One Letter Challenge video. If you're one of my subscribers, thank you so much. You guys are my motivation to keep challenging myself and making new videos, and I'm so happy that you like my content. If you aren't subscribed, well, why not go ahead and subscribe now and get updates on future videos. Also, hit that like button to let me know if you guys liked the video. I really wasn't expecting to have this many subscribers already, so I actually made this video in one day, from designing the Pokemon to animating the Pokeballs and recording audio and editing, which is super crazy and definitely a new record for me. So leave me a comment and let me know what you guys think about this challenge and my ideas. The next video will be Routes 2 and 3 in the Usana region, and since this is my 100 subscriber video, I'll drop a hint. I'm bringing in a cut Pokemon from an old Pokemon game. That's all I'll say though, so keep an eye out for my next video. Thanks again, guys. Until next time.